I am 25 years old. I do drink sometimes, but I hate the taste of alcohol. All of my friends say they like drinking, and I do not understand why. Do people only drink to get tipsy and drunk, or do they actually like the taste of it? I have only had rum, whiskey, and beer. Story 1. Alcohol does not have a uniform taste. Some wine is nice, some is not. It has a relatively uniform effect. I love it, though I also just love the taste. I can understand why people do not like the feeling of being drunk, but many do. Story 2. Alcohol itself does not taste good. On its own, it is bitter and unpleasant. However, it is great for dissolving flavors. Can be sweet, sour, or whatever you want. And it can be really good. Many people consume it to become tipsy or intoxicated. Story 3. It is an acquired taste. If you do not like the taste, it is only to your benefit. I love bourbon, and I have spent thousands of dollars on the drink. Story 4. That is a bit like asking why people like the taste of food. People enjoy different foods and flavors. Oysters, fish, vegetables, such as bitter melon, preservadeges, watermelon, salted cod, balut. No thanks. Alcohol comes in many different types, strengths, and flavors. Story 5. I don't think anyone except severe alcoholics likes the taste of pure ethyl alcohol. However, manufacturers produce a large number of flavored alcoholic drinks that taste similar to soda. In either case, people do not drink alcohol for the taste. They drink it for its effects. Story 6. I like sweet drinks. Some liqueurs, ciders, and other spirits that can be mixed with sweet mixers. I also like medium to sweet wines. I am not a fan of beer, except for the Belgian fruity types. Whiskey, champagne, and similar drinks are preferred. I do not get drunk. I usually get sleepy instead and have never been hungover. Story 7. Of the ones you mentioned, I personally enjoy beer and whiskey. Not too often, but it is indeed the taste that I like. There are some alcohol-free beers, which I pick up from time to time because the effect of alcohol is not what I am necessarily after. However, there are definitely many people who enjoy being tipsy or drunk. This is not just a human behavior. Experiments show that even animals like to get themselves high. Not all neurotoxins feel bad. Story 8. It is a search or excuse to find the least offensive way to get a buzz or project social status while getting a buzz. Story 9. It is not the taste of the alcohol, but the experience after you drink alcohol. The same applies to medicines. They taste sour at first, but later they make you feel better. Story 10. I don't drink strong alcohol such as vodka or whiskey, but I do drink red and white wine occasionally. I never get drunk because I have good self-control. I would say wine is an acquired taste. Aerating the wine and pairing it with different salamis and cheeses gives the alcohol a slightly different flavor, depending on the combination you use. There are endless combinations. I also find the wine tasting experience to be quite pleasant, especially when you dress up. It's a vibe, and people who do such things are usually relaxed, which is my kind of people. Story 11. I don't like the taste of alcohol, and I have tried many different types. The closest one that was bearable for me was sour cherry liqueur, but only because it contained a lot of sugar and was kind of sweet. This is the reason why I don't drink, along with the negative effects these drinks have on our bodies. The only time I taste alcohol is when someone has an occasion and I don't want to be rude by refusing a toast. Story 12. Pina coladas, Mai Tais, and expensive whiskey are tasty, but straight-up whiskey is not always enjoyable and is mainly good for getting drunk. Story 13. I think if you are in your 20s, it is quite common to drink with the sole purpose of getting drunk. That changes with age. I am 46 years old. I drink rarely now, but when I do drink, I only want what I think is tasty. Story 14. I doubt you have tasted alcohol per se. Pure ethanol is harder to come by because it is used as a solvent and disinfectant. The alcohol you can buy is not pure, so it has some tastes left, but I guess you mean the bitter, burning taste. It is an acquired taste like any other. If you do not like any alcoholic drinks, kudos to you. I happen to like some and dislike other drinks with alcohol in them. Especially in whiskeys, I do not like the smoky taste, but I like whiskey without it. Some wines are great and others are not. My palate only developed after I turned 30. At 44, I still have not had beer and I cannot stand the taste. So I would say go on living your life as it is. Taste different things if you feel like it, but do not force it and do not do anything just to fit in a group. After all, alcohol should be consumed in moderation. No alcohol is much better than too much alcohol. Story 15. Do yourself a favor and never let yourself acquire a taste for it. It is straight poison and has only negative effects on our bodies and minds. Story 16. Most alcoholic beverages are an acquired taste. Took several tries before I started to like them. Now, I drink beer for the taste because I am really into craft beer. I also enjoy rye and ginger ale or rum and cola for flavor. Some specialty whiskeys are also enjoyable. One drink I cannot get into is wine. Maybe I would like it if it were a really sweet white wine and everyone else was having some. Story 17. There are many flavor combinations that people enjoy. I don't know how that is difficult to understand or why it even needs to be asked. You don't like the taste of whiskey. There are many different tasting whiskeys available. Some are best drank neat, while others are nice in cocktails, and all taste differently. With alcoholic drinks, you also have the effects of the alcohol, which people enjoy. So it tastes good to them and they enjoy the effects. It's not difficult to understand. Story 18. Alcohol is not tasty like candy or soda. It is tasty like old cheese, olives, and spicy food. There is an experience to the sensory progression of their consumption. There is also the halo effect of people having memorable times in a positive sense, related to alcohol consumption, attributing good times to the alcohol instead of to what it led to. Story 19. It's all gross. No matter how good it is, I always taste that alcohol. I'm okay with all drugs. I just can't do alcoholic beverages anymore. Story 20. I think the taste lets us know that a buzz is on the way, so we get conditioned to think it tastes good, when in reality it tastes like a toxic chemical, which it is. Story 21. Many people go out to drink because they enjoy the feeling and the environment. Alcohol does not have a specific taste on its own since you are not consuming pure alcohol. It is always mixed into a drink, whether it is beer or straight hard liquor. There is a wide range of flavors. Some drinks taste like cake or a chocolate milkshake, others like cherry and lemon, or like candies such as Jolly Ranchers or grapes. There are also many crisp and bitter flavors. Alcohol comes in many flavors, and even the sensation on your tongue can change depending on the type of alcohol, its concentration, and what it is mixed with. I have had drinks where you cannot even taste the alcohol. Story 22. It is acquired. I never really enjoyed it until I had a high-stress job. A 5 p.m. cocktail eased the stress in my chest, and I became fond of the effect. I still love a martini. Story 23. I am convinced nobody actually likes the taste. They may have gotten used to it. They may prefer one alcoholic beverage over another. They might enjoy a mixed drink containing alcohol. Just liking the taste of alcohol, though, is unlikely. Story 24. Anything that humans consume will taste great to some and horrible to others. I like the taste of fresh peas. My wife would rather eat her own earwax. We both hate coriander, also known as cilantro. Here in the United Kingdom, we even have Marmite, a strong-tasting spread made from yeast, which markets itself on the fact that some people love it and others hate it. People have different tastes. The world would be boring if we did not. Story 25. I was like you until I was about 30. I do not know if my taste buds changed or what, but I started liking wine around then. After that, I developed a taste for gin and, to a lesser extent, whiskey. During the coronavirus pandemic, I stopped buying alcohol and never started again, so I hardly drink at all anymore. Anyway, maybe you will be like me and develop a taste for it in a few years. Story 26. It's common to need time to find your preferred drinks. Whiskey and beer can be quite polarizing, as they vary widely by brand and mix. Rum can be very different as well. Personally, I like beer, vodka, cider, and spirits. However, if you give me the wrong kind of any of those, I will dislike them intensely to the point of having a visceral reaction. Story 27. I have never really been a fan of alcohol, but I drink at social events. Through work, I usually have one or two drinks with work dinners whenever I travel, so I have had a small amount of variety. There is a lot of variety. I do not think there is any that I would want to drink by myself, but I do not mind many of them, and I believe they can enhance the experience by acting as a form of palate cleanser, as people like to say. That said, I believe people, at least initially, drink for the inebriation. Over time, a connection forms between drinking and enjoyment, so it becomes a habit as the taste becomes synonymous with happiness. However, I believe the intoxicating effect is both the primary and major reason why most people drink. Story 28. Same reason people enjoy the smell of cocaine or breathing in tobacco laced with chemicals. It is not the taste itself, it is the effect. There are pleasant tasting drinks, do not get me wrong, and it does become a taste one can crave, but nobody sips on a martini or whiskey neat because it tastes good. Story 29. It depends on the alcohol. For example, if we are talking about beers, I like Weihenstephan, but I think Tuborg is not that great. The same goes for every other drink. Some taste better, some taste worse. Story 30. Alcohol is very addictive and people come to like the taste. I do not drink, and frankly, it tastes terrible. It is like coffee. I love coffee, an acquired taste. You are much better off not drinking. Story 31. I discovered I actually quite like drinking once I branched away from beer and lager. Some types I do not mind, but it is rare I can get the taste for it, to be honest. Cider could be worth trying for you. You can get a variety of fruits as its flavor, sweet and more sour. Story 32. You can say the same for coffee or cocaine. In all instances, it is because they are drugs. The drug releases pleasant chemicals in the brain, and with repeated use, your brain associates the taste of the medium with the effect of the drug. Story 33. I like some types, but I do not like others. There is a great deal of variety in tastes, and finding a type that appeals to your taste buds may be trickier for you than for your peers. I have tried a type of absinthe that tasted like liquid candy and clearly ended up drinking too much of it. While I generally like beer, I have poured some down the sink after just one sip. Story 34. I do not drink hard liquor straight. It is delicious when mixed with something sweet, which is why drinks like margaritas and Mai Tais exist. I love drinking for the flavor and enjoy the feeling of being intoxicated, but I absolutely hate being hungover. This is the main reason I do not drink more than about one drink per week. Being lightly intoxicated with my wife is one of my favorite things in the world. It is incredibly fun how much we laugh and show affection with such passion. Story 35. It is an acquired taste just like coffee and steak. Even when I drank, there were relatively few alcoholic drinks I liked. Beer, Bacardi 80 rum, and schnapps. I never could stand the taste of whiskey or wine. Story 36. Almost nobody likes the taste of pure ethanol. 190 proof Everclear tastes unpleasant, even if you dilute it to a strength that won't cause damage to your throat or stomach. As for alcoholic drinks, the flavor varies widely from product to product. A $50 bottle of rum will taste better than a $12 bottle of rum. Most off-the-shelf products have sweeteners, caramel color, and sometimes flavorings added to improve the taste. Even high-end products like Hennessy Cognac are not pure. Colorants and sugars are added after distillation. Most people mix their hard liquor and spirits with sugar, flavored syrups, fruit juice, and other additives to enhance the taste. People who enjoy their drinks straight or neat have refined tastes and seek specific notes or experiences. Your 25-year-old bar buddies are usually not those people. Your question is too broad for a simple answer. You should ask your friends why they like drinking. My guess is they enjoy getting intoxicated, not the taste. Story 37. Well, for one thing, there are many kinds of alcohol. Statistically, there are probably some you would like. The other thing is that you can acquire the taste. Usually, people start out drinking just to get drunk, and over time the taste grows on them, a bit like getting into unsweetened coffee for the first time. Story 38. You need to come to Ireland and develop a taste for Guinness. There is literally nothing else like it in the world. Story 39. I love a good Hefeweizen. Hard liquor is a no for me no matter what it is. I ruined that in my early 20s. Story 40. Because they are pretending and only doing it because they are insecure or they have the inability to deal with their own problems. Story 41. You might try finding a place that serves high-end cocktails. It can be a little pricey, but if you have only a couple, it is enjoyable to sip while having conversations with people you like. If you are not sure what you like, you can usually talk to the bartender. A good bartender at a place that makes quality cocktails is usually very good at finding something you might enjoy. Story 42. All alcohol tastes bad. That is why it is always served cold and with a mixer. You just get used to it. The only ones that do not taste half bad are the expensive bottles. Story 43. A good whiskey has notes of different flavors, caramel or toffee, the smoky flavor of the charcoal wood, and some sweet fruit notes. Cheaper products tend to be harsher and less flavorful. Most liquor is like this. Better quality costs more and is less often used just to get drunk. Story 44. Personally, I enjoy the taste of alcohol, or rather, the feeling. Not the effect, but the soft burn of alcohol in the throat and the warmth in the stomach. Combine that sensation with flavors of rum, gin, scotch, and liquors, and I find it quite pleasant. It is not for everyone, to be sure, but I enjoy it. I do not drink to get drunk normally, or to even get a buzz, but the taste and sensation are very relaxing. If I do want to get a buzz, I have a jar of 40-year-old White Lightning that could double as an engine cleaner or rocket fuel. Story 45. It's not the taste. It's the effects of drinking. Some people might enjoy the taste of certain alcoholic beverages better than others, and certain brands might taste different or better than others. But I doubt there are many people who drink strictly because they enjoy the taste. Story 46. A lot of people are answering as if the question is, why do people like alcoholic drinks? Which is not the same thing. Why do people like the taste of ethanol? Well, firstly, on its own, it is pretty horrible, but so is salt, so it is not necessarily that simple. Imagine it as a seasoning and forget the inebriation. Maybe it will make more sense. People have different tastes. Why do humans in general like the taste of alcohol? Probably because it is associated with a nutritious high-energy source, fermenting fruit, and partly through learned association of having good times. When a source of high-sugar food is available, like slightly fermented fruit, it would have been detrimental to be put off by the taste of alcohol, which is easily processed by the human metabolism. If you do not like it, that is fine. I do not like most alcoholic drinks, but I love cocktails. Story 47. I do not like beer or wine, but I use both in cooking for the flavors they add. To each their own. You just need to keep trying until you find what you like or not. You do you. Story 48. Like coffee, you can acquire the taste. This is mainly because the active ingredient likely affects how your brain interprets the flavor. When I started drinking, beer was unpleasant, and if I tasted alcohol in a mixed drink, it was unpleasant. Over time, this gradually changed. Story 49. No one likes the taste of alcohol itself. We like the taste of alcoholic drinks, which are not pure alcohol. Yes, I really like the taste of beer, wine, champagne, mead, some liquors, and sweet fruit cocktails. I am not a fan of pure whiskey, rum, vodka, or similar spirits. Mixed with other ingredients, they are good though. Story 50. Cocktails usually taste good, and different types of alcohol have different flavors. You may like a whiskey sour or an espresso martini. Sometimes you just want to get tipsy, so you choose what is available or the least unpleasant. For instance, I can drink whiskey or tequila straight. I wouldn't describe it as good, merely tolerable. I dislike vodka. Wine and Guinness, along with stouts in general, taste good to me and are enjoyable to drink. Cheap beer like Modelo tastes neutral to me. Story 51. I always drank alcohol to socially conform when I was younger. As I grew older and became closer with friends, I started drinking less, to maybe a beer every 3 to 4 months. I now know what kind of alcohol I enjoy and which I do not. I also do not feel the need to drink just to conform with friends, nor do they judge me for drinking water at the bar these days. If you like drinking, then drink. If you do not, then do not. Friends will be your friends regardless of what you do, so just do what you want to do. Story 52. 37-year-old married man with 2 children. I do not think I have been intoxicated in 15 to 20 years. I like the taste. Usually 1 to 3 drinks in the evening just because. Story 53. Have you ever tried the test to see if you are a super taster? I took it in a chemistry class and learned I had it. It made me realize why I hate certain types of food, as bitter tastes are pronounced to me. People think it is only cilantro, but also hoppy beers, alcohol, coffee, and some vegetables. Most alcohol tastes unpleasant to me unless it is really sweet. Story 54. I can generally live without alcohol. I hate beer and like hard cider. Wines are all the same or just meh. But sangria and mojitos are amazing. Story 55. It is generally not the alcohol itself but the mix. I like the taste of Dutch beers, whereas others say it is disgusting. Now that I am older, I care more about the taste and drinking something I enjoy rather than an excuse to get drunk. I have been in your place. The first drink I had was Foster's, and I could not get through a single can. Then I had Carlsberg instead, and it was a totally different experience. Others will probably say the same with different drinks and mixes. If it is not your preference, that is fine too. There is nothing wrong with being sober, and it is actually encouraged in some social circles. I would never judge someone who does not want to drink. Story 56. I am not really sure, to be honest. While there are some I enjoy the taste of, it is closer to saying it tastes interesting. Story 57. It is an acquired taste that I did not appreciate until I got older. I do not know which brands of whiskey you are drinking, but usually the cheaper options do not taste as smooth as the more expensive ones. Story 58. That's like saying why people like the taste of a carbonated soft drink as if all taste the same. For example, Coca-Cola is very different from Sprite, but they are both carbonated soft drinks. Story 59. I refuse to believe anyone enjoys the taste of alcohol. Some types of liquor and mixed drinks are more bearable than straight liquor or beer. Otherwise, men would not be so averse to fruity drinks. To be honest, fruity drinks taste much better than bland beer or straight liquor. Still gross though. The sole reason for any alcoholic drink is to get drunk or feel buzzed. Story 60. I used to hate the taste of beer. It would make me gag at times until I drank enough to get drunk. After that, I developed a taste for beer. It is an acquired taste. Story 61. I'm a big bourbon drinker, and not all bourbon is created equal. My recommendation is to try a wide variety of mid-shelf alcohols of all types until you figure out which, if any, you like. Avoid the very expensive top-shelf options, but also avoid the lowest quality brands like Jim Beam, Wild Turkey, and Jack Daniels. Story 62. Because when you enjoy happiness derived from flavor, plain old sweet, salty, sour beverages become boring, mundane, and repetitive. From an alcohol aficionado, wine, whiskey, gin, rum, cognac, tequila, and 10 more different readily available spirits. Not the cheap stuff. You get a very natural tasting experience without synthetic flavonoids. You also get to experience the craftsmanship of someone who has spent decades mastering the art of making a spirit. Then come the insanely talented bartenders of good bars who introduce never-before-tasted flavors in a beverage that in many cases you were eating earlier, but now you can drink those too. Unpredictable combinations that work beautifully together. But honestly, very few people are like this. Most of the crowd is just alcoholics getting a fix or people using alcohol for its effects and not its taste. Story 63. People like the effects of alcohol. Ice-cold beer can feel refreshing, but I tolerate the taste. Story 64. I get mixed drinks, usually cocktails. I can combine alcohol, such as vodka, with club soda and orange juice. Story 65. The only liquor I like the taste of is tequila, the clear kind, not the aged in barrels to get rid of the natural flavor kind. Story 66. People drink to get drunk or tipsy. Then they learn to associate the tastes with being drunk or tipsy. After that, they begin to enjoy the taste and develop preferences. This leads to some beautiful blends of wine, which are truly excellent. Story 67. People develop a taste for alcohol in the same way they do for nicotine and tobacco. You do not enjoy the taste the first time you try it. You enjoy the taste because it satisfies the other addictive qualities associated with the drug. Story 68. I am almost 30 years old, and even as a child, my father would let me try a small amount of beer, but I absolutely hated the taste. I still do not drink alcohol because the taste is bitter and unpleasant. Story 69. I love full-bodied deep red wine. I enjoy a good German Pilsner or lager, a stout, and a hoppy, fruity, and bitter ale. I like sangria and a Negroni. I love these because, to me, they taste good. Story 70. If there was no mixer for my vodka, I would never drink. Drinking helps socially lubricate so people can talk to others like normal. On days I do not experience anxiety, I do not even want to drink. Story 71. I do not like rum, whiskey, or India Pale Ale. I prefer cider and mixed drinks. The taste of alcohol is very different from straight rum. Second, I do not believe anyone who says they drink alcohol for the taste. I do enjoy the taste of ciders and mixed vodka drinks. However, I choose those over juice from the store because mixed drinks give me a solid buzz. Story 72. Alcohol has an objectively harsh taste, especially when compared to non-alcoholic drinks. No one has ever drunk alcohol for the first time and thought it tasted delicious. However, there are definitely some alcoholic beverages that taste better than others. It is an acquired taste. This is precisely why cocktails exist. Mixers help mask the harsh taste of the alcohol to make it more palatable. Story 73. If you drink enough of it, you stop tasting the alcohol and can notice the subtler flavors behind the beverage. Certainly is not for everyone, and I encourage you to stay away from it if possible. I had already been drinking for 12 years at your age, so it was kind of too late for me. Story 74. I am a 28-year-old male and I do not like the taste either. I drink mainly for the effects, but I did notice that after a day of physical labor, carrying tiles, bricks, or wood for long periods, the beer tastes amazing. Story 75. Rum, whiskey, and beer are unpleasant, coming from someone who enjoys drinking. Try cider, wine, or something a bit more flavorful. Story 76. First of all, you could pick up 100 different drinks, and all will have a different taste. You just have to find something that works for you. My friends all love drinking whiskey and inexpensive beers. I dislike those, so I do not drink them. I just order the things I think taste good. My suggestion is to turn finding something you like into a hangout with your friends. Plan a day where you all go wine tasting or beer tasting at a local brewery, or just visit a tourist place and try the colorful fruity flavored drinks. Story 77. That's what girly drinks are for, my friend. No shame in the game. Sometimes things call for an Alabama Slammer or a Mai Tai. Story 78. Why do some people like the taste of green beans? Many people enjoy the taste of alcoholic beverages. However, not everyone drinks solely to experience the effects of alcohol. If people drank only for the effects, there would not be so many different types of drinks. Story 79. At that age, I would mix vodka or something similar with juice, soda, and ice to mute the taste. Story 80. If I have a choice, I don't usually drink. Sometimes, though, you feel numb, either feeling tough or in a state of melancholy. You need a drink that will kick you in the gut. Something that burns and makes you exhale fumes like a dragon. Some days, you need a drink that isn't too strong in terms of making you drunk, but has that extra bite and crispness after a long day of work or maybe a scorcher. Other drinks, you hardly notice the alcohol. Margaritas and daiquiris can be quite deceptive. In general, I am picky about which types I prefer. I can handle very strong liquor like 70+ proof, but there are some drinks that no matter how light they are, I get nauseated just from the taste alone, something like soju or gin. Story 81. It is like salt. Nobody likes the taste of pure salt. But add it to food and suddenly the food is much better. It is the same with alcohol. Story 82. Just gonna find what you like. My first real taste of alcohol was when I was 16. I was visiting my sister in college and saw she had some orange vodka in her fridge. No one was around, and I figured it would taste fruity, so I took a swig. I almost threw up just from that. Tasted awful. Once I got to college and started drinking on my own, I found it was more for the feeling than the taste. Now that I am older, I avoid most hard liquor, but I do enjoy some beers. German beers and stouts are my favorites, especially with some bratwurst and sauerkraut. Story 83. Beer is definitely an acquired taste. I thoroughly enjoy a Jack and Coke, though. Despite the criticism I receive, I tend to drink Jack Daniel's Fire. However, I do not like Fireball. They are not the same. Story 84. Also note that sometimes, though not always, the more expensive alcohol tastes better. If I go to the liquor store and buy a $10 bottle of whiskey, it will probably taste unpleasant. But if I buy a $70 bottle of Angel's Envy, it will probably taste good, assuming you like the taste of bourbon to begin with. The same applies to tequila. Also, price is not always the determining factor. Casa Noble is $47, and I would choose a bottle of that over Patron any day. Expensive vodkas can have a very neutral or very good taste. So do not always judge by what is available. Many people in their 20s choose the biggest bottle with the highest alcohol by volume for the lowest price, regardless of taste. Story 85. I can't say I love the taste, but the feeling of a frosty cold beer in the sun after a hard day's work is hard to beat. I don't even really drink that much, but I sometimes do. Story 86. People generally do not like the taste of alcohol. They either like the way alcohol makes them feel, or they enjoy the taste of specific beverages that contain alcohol. Cheap whiskey tastes horrible. Good scotch tastes great. Some wines are excellent, but others taste like dirty water and disappointment. I enjoy Stella Artois, Heineken, and Dos Equis but dislike Guinness because it is too meaty. I hate India Pale Alesh because they taste like pesticides. It is all personal preference, and it is fine not to like any of it. Story 87. I used to be the same. The only things I actually liked were cider, Southern Comfort, and Coke or vodka and Red Bull. I don't drink now and haven't for about 10 years. Honestly, looking at some people, I'm pretty sure they just say a drink is nice because they want to sound a certain way. Like someone in their 30s trying to be edgy by asking a pub if they have the least known India Pale Ale available. When you don't drink, you notice how cringe some people are with drinking. Story 88. On top of that, it's an acquired taste. I think it's also about the association to the state it induces. If you enjoy what happens after you consume it, you associate the taste with it and perceive it as something positive. Story 89. I enjoy bitter flavors. There is also a little something else to it, a strength that I like very much. Story 90. I probably had my first drink of beer at about 6 years old in the 1960s, and I loved it. I finally had to quit drinking alcohol about 6 years ago, and I have discovered that recent quality and range of types of non-alcoholic beer often appear on my gratitude lists. I just prefer barley and hops over almost everything else. I kind of miss tequila and Canadian whiskey, but I learned to drink them mostly straight. Tequila with lime and jalapenos, after 20 years of mixed drinks. Now and then, I think about how good dry red wine is with many foods, or Prosecco or real champagne to add ceremony to a group's celebratory feelings. But I am content with non-alcoholic beer. Story 91. It may be hard to imagine, but some people like different tastes. Yes, some people like the taste of some alcoholic beverages. Some people drink to get drunk. There is no one answer to this question. It is like asking, why do people like the taste of vegetables? As if all vegetables taste the same. Story 92. It depends. I tolerate most alcohol to get a buzz, but I enjoy the taste of certain drinks. Some stouts can taste like dark chocolate. I have had whiskey that tastes like caramel, which is really good. I like a good Cabernet, and I enjoy my light domestic beer with hot wings. Story 93. I drink regularly but never get drunk. Socially, it can make the moment really fun and smooth. Regarding taste and sensation, I think it is like cheese. Some are strong, some are smooth. The same applies to alcohol. A cold quality beer on a hot day with the taste and the feeling of the sparkling plus foam is very nice. A good wine with some good cheese is also enjoyable. At first, I did not like the taste of beer and wine, but after a few tries, I started to love it. It is an acquired taste. Story 94. No one likes the taste of alcohol. That is why there are many types of mixed drinks to hide the taste. You can trick your brain into thinking you enjoy it by associating it with the pleasant buzzed sensation over the years, but no one likes the taste of alcohol. Story 95. It is fine if you do not like alcohol. I did not used to either at your age. Now I like whiskey, Mexican beer, and some craft beer, but not much else, and I rarely drink. I have a nice whiskey collection and go through about a bottle every 2 to 3 months. To be honest, there is a good chance your palate has not fully matured yet either. Figure out what you like, if anything, and do not worry about what other people say. Story 96. I absolutely like the taste of a cold beer after a day of work. There is alcohol you drink to get intoxicated, and there is alcohol you drink to enjoy. It is completely a matter of personal opinion. Story 97. Not only sweet tastes are good, alcohol has a bitter taste. With other tastes complementing it, it can go really well. For example, in a fruity cocktail, the alcohol can balance the sweetness of the ingredients and create a more unique taste than just drinking juice. Story 98. First, it is largely an acquired taste. The first time I had whiskey, beer, wine, and so on, I thought it was disgusting. I distinctly remember my first India Pale Ale and thinking it was just undrinkably bitter. But once I got used to the taste, I grew to like it. Mustard was similar for me. Initially, I never cared for it and did not understand why people liked it, but now I love it. Many of the flavors you experience in alcohol are not ones you find elsewhere. The hoppy flavors in beer, the complex flavors of woodiness, fruitiness, and herbal notes in a glass of wine, and the smoky, caramel flavors of whiskey or rum. I remember wondering how anyone could handle the burning sensation of liquor. Eventually, you get used to the harsher tastes, and the more subtle ones shine through. Second, I would guess you are drinking mostly low-quality alcohol. At 25, many people are not spending over $40 on a good bottle of whiskey to sip with friends. I would guess much of the rum you have tried is spiced, which I still find unpleasant, or light rum, which basically just tastes like alcohol and little else. If you are drinking beer at a party, it is probably light beer or some mass-produced lager. So the answer is yes, people like it. A big part of liking it is how much flavor there is to explore. Story 99. As a person without a sense of smell, alcohol uniformly tastes unpleasant even if sugar is added. It still tastes unpleasant with sugar on top. Story 100. There is a wide variety of different flavors of alcoholic drinks. I like some and do not like others. Ethanol has a unique flavor that is a mild bitter taste, combined with aspects of sweetness and a kind of fiery spiciness. I like bitter flavors in general, so I quite enjoy the various flavor profiles of alcoholic drinks. Story 101. I love the taste of different alcoholic beverages. Some are great on a hot day. Red wines pair well with a good steak. White wines are excellent with pasta. I have recently discovered a Negroni, and I enjoy a good gin martini. Story 102. If you dislike the taste of alcohol, you can make a simple drink. People have told me they could not taste the alcohol, but it made them quite drunk. It is simple: blue curacao and Sprite. Use diet because you need quite a bit of it. 1 shot per 1 can with a generous helping of ice. As for beer, there is a lot more variety of flavor. I dislike India Pale Alesh, but some people love them. I do not know what sweaty ballsack tastes like, but if I did, I am sure that would be the taste. A lot of it is an acquired taste. Coffee is unpleasant. It only smells nice but tastes different from how it smells. However, you learn to like it. Story 103. I enjoy the flavor of different beers, wines, whiskey, tequila, rum, and all sorts of beverages. I am not sure what is so objectionable, but to each their own. Story 104. Yes, I love the taste of alcohol. I do not drink to get drunk either. I will say, though, that most people need to develop an appreciation for some kinds of alcohol, just like with challenging foods. It took me a while to get into peaty scotch, for example. Story 105. All of my friends say they like drinking, and I don't understand why. I have no idea either. It all tastes the same, and I imagine it tastes like liquid waste. Story 106. I don't think most people like the taste of alcohol per se. It is the ingredients in the alcoholic beverage that people enjoy. For example, I love the flavor of some beers, But it is not the alcohol I am enjoying. It is the wheat, barley, yeast, and other ingredients that go into the beer. Story 107. Everyone dislikes the taste initially, but then the dopamine response causes the brain to develop a positive association with the toxin. Avoid drinking. Story 108. Your taste buds will change as you get older. I did not like good bourbons until I was over 40. Beverages have different flavors and strengths of alcohol. Personally, I do not really taste it when drinking a beer or wine, but I definitely taste it in a margarita, a Moscow Mule, one of my favorites, or an old-fashioned. Try some of the hard sodas and ciders. Story 109. Honestly, I don't really like alcohol the same way I like soda, but sweet alcohol like legal moonshine is something I don't mind. Bottom line, I really only drink alcohol to look cool, so in other words, I don't drink very much or very often. Story 110. I love my India Pale Ale and Scotch. I like some wine and gin too. It is about taste, not about the effect. I drink in moderation and normally only have one at a time. Story 111. I always ask this question. They say it is an acquired taste, but I do not get it. Like cider and some wines are fine, but I would drink them for the socialization and the tipsiness, not because I like the drink. Story 112. I have no idea. Most of it tastes unpleasant to me. I never kept going with it and never saw the appeal. Story 113. People whose ancestors consumed alcohol for calories and nutritional health are likely to enjoy its taste. Story 114. People drink only light beverages for the taste. Beer and wine might be enjoyable. Everything else is just to get drunk and suffer from different hangovers. Story 115. Why people like something you don't, and vice versa, is just something you need to understand as part of life. Story 116. Social propaganda reinforced by the euphoric effect of alcohol. Nobody likes the taste at first, and if they say they do, they are just repeating what others say to try to look cool. Like everyone else says, once you get used to it, you start acquainting yourself with the flavors more. I started with wine because it was bearable. Then hard seltzers before White Claw was popular and got criticized for it. Then vodka because it is neutral in flavor. Now I am drinking premium whiskeys paired with $20 cigars. But yeah, it is mostly a social construct. Story 117. It's a good way to de-stress, but if it does not work for you, then do not do it. Honestly, I have been getting more into drinking different teas lately and keeping it as an end-of-month weekend activity. Story 118. Not including cocktails, I mainly drink alcohol to get tipsy or drunk. Many cocktails do not taste good. Story 119. You have to find something you like. You are late to the game and everyone else has already found something. I used to hate everything until I discovered India Pale Ale in my 30s. Story 120. I like the peppery taste of vodka and the usual taste of whiskey without needing to drink a lot of it. I absolutely love anything Guinness. Story 121. Whiskey is something I have learned to love. It is a taste that requires getting used to, but when you do, you can appreciate the different flavors. Personally, I like a smoky taste of whiskey. Laphroaig and Islay Mist are two of my favorites. The smokiness makes it smoother and less harsh. In later years, I have come to adore Japanese whiskey, mostly Nikka. Despite it being 51% alcohol, it is very smooth and not harsh at all. Story 122. Alcohol is like salt. On its own, horrendous. With other ingredients, delicious. Try some wine or a sweeter cocktail. Story 123. Alcohol is unpleasant. It is literally poison. Anyone who says they like the taste is not being truthful. That said, I am sipping some right now. Story 124. There is a wide variety of tastes. You have probably just had the low-quality beverages that people only drink to get drunk. Story 125. Why do some people like licorice? Why do some people like fermented herring? People like what they like. Story 126. You might be drinking the wrong beer. Alternatively, there are tons of mixed drinks where you cannot taste the alcohol. Story 127. Some alcohol, when well made, like a nice beer or wine, is delicious in taste and aftertaste. However, it is an acquired taste and completely unnecessary for happiness. Story 128. What a foolish question. People just pretend to like the taste of alcohol, which is why everyone tries to cover up the taste with soda, juice, flavored alcohol, or beer made with a lot of hops. The bitterness of the hops overshadows the taste of alcohol, with the added effect of a headache after drinking one to distract you from future beers. There is even salmon-flavored vodka, so yes, people choose to drink fish-flavored alcohol instead of plain alcohol. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.